Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Ooh, it's that day where we make love, even though it should be every day. What a blessed day. What a time to be alive. You should be grateful. Where is your spouse at? I'm talking about your husband. Yeah, you. And of course, I'm talking about your wife. Where are both of you this evening? A lot of people saying, I beg, waiting be Valentine when there's no food. No, there's a time and place for everything. And indeed, I must thank Reverend Adeyo, who held a mini couples event. It was really not publicized, not much, but it was impactful. I had the privilege of being there. I would like to appreciate him because more than ever, probably because of issues that we have in life right now, we know too much. Yeah. But if we are basing it off of biblical principles that are read out to you each day when we come here, if those arguments are based on biblical precepts, there is nothing that you can do about it, whether it is to your liking or not. Okay, so coming to you, Reverend, could you please respond to that about whether or not a husband and wife to be are financially stable or not, they are good to go?
No, they are not good to go. When you have two people that are not working, coming together because they are potential people, that potency has not been put to test yet. So you cannot just say, I have no work, and the person you want to marry has no work. There's no means of livelihood. Are you going to depend on friends, or you are going to depend on people to fund your home for you? It is never allowed like that. In the place where I oversee, I will not marry you too until both of you, or one of you in particular, the man, has something to do. And when you speak about somebody that is rich today or that is doing good job and is relieved of his job, there are things, wise things happen. When people don't plan, people don't invest. And if you don't invest or people don't save, and when you don't save, when things like that happen, it becomes very, very terrible. There are sustaining power which a lot of people have overlooked. The Bible says in the book of Malachi chapter 3, when you begin to read from verse 10, it talks about bring all your tithe into the storehouse of God so that there will be meat in the house. He said, try me if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour down upon you blessings that there will be enough room to contain it. You see, when you are following the ordinances of God, there is nothing that shipwreck your possession, your riches, because riches doesn't come from anywhere. In Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 18, he say you must remember the Lord your God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get it. So if you abandon God, and what you see is some people who are rich, you see they begin to get friends here and there, and you remember what we read earlier in Proverbs chapter 6 verse 26, that anyone that follows prostitute, whatever resources he has, he will lose it, because the man will be turned to a piece of bread. That is to say, you will become poor.
Please call out that verse again, Reverend.
Proverbs 6:26.
You to, because so that people can read it.
Yeah.
With their own eyes.
Yeah. Proverbs chapter 6. If you are a follower of women that are different from your wife, that is what you get, and it will come suddenly. There are a lot of people who have been in a place of work. They are retrenching people, but because they follow the path of righteousness, they are retained. But whatever you do, the scripture must be fulfilled. So that is what normally happens to such people. God doesn't just take you money and take it. No, he doesn't enrich you and make you poor. No. But then the power to make rich and to make poor is in his hand. And to make rich, those are principles that are set in place, and that will continue to work. That is, if you follow it to get becomes yours. And then if you do anything other than following God and you begin to follow women, selling yourself, the other part of it will happen to you and you begin to live in penury. God forbid.
Reverend Adejo, we have a submission from our regular listener, Trinidad, and this person is saying, doesn't that sound a bit biased, particularly the man? Shouldn't a woman be able to get a job and hold down the house until the man finds it?
Yeah, that is not a difficult thing. That is why I said wife and husband in particular, should love his own wife. That's what the Bible says in the book of Ephesians. It says a man in particular must love his own wife. And if you love your wife, then no sacrifice your wife will not be able to make on your behalf. So that is true. You know, I gave a certain explanation a few hours ago, a few minutes ago, when I was in the program. I said, look, if your wife is earning 1 million naira a month and your husband is earning 500,000, your wife will be earning 500,000 more than the husband, isn't it? So I said, if the husband that is earning 500,000 can take 100,000 and give to the wife, I said, look, this is for the home upkeep. And I said, the wife that is earning 1 million, the whole 1 million is spent in a home because the man is standing on the right ground. Is that okay?
The man is standing on the right ground.
Yeah.
There was also something you said. Okay, let me take the next, and then I'll
come back to what you said at that program that I think needs rating. This person said, evening, what about cultures that require the bride to come to her husband's home with so many things, such as all that is needed in the home? I think, last week we were talking about marry a man for, the traditional rights. And so this person is asking, and I think, the nurture is, for whether Muslim or Christian, the woman is actually taken to her husband's house with, believe it's all
yours. Yeah. I gave out one of my junior daughter in December, and when she was going to the husband's home, there were things I bought to give them as gifts from the parents. It happens. Sometimes you buy them bed, you can buy them fridge, you can buy them car if you are able. So those things are allowable. Then food items is also okay. But then it's an added help. I remember when I got married, I spent a lot of money, but the help that I got from friends helped us to sustain for a while before my salary came. So all those things are not bad at all. They are good.
Okay, as long as that is the tradition.
That is the tradition.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to something you said, Reverend, at this program that I think bears repeating. Because even when you said it, there were a lot of men in the crowd who were not in agreement. See, there was a ripple of disagreement that went through.
But then I explained to them again and they kept quiet.
Yes. This is something that you've always said on this program, and that is, as a man, your money is you and your wife and your family. I mean, your family, your wife and children.
Yeah.
Your wife's family, your wife's money is hers.
Yeah.
But if you know how to treat her right,
yes,
the money
will
become yours.
That's it.
I think you should explain that still.
Yeah.
Especially for those who are about to enter the marriage.
Yeah. You see, what holds home is love. And the love, I want to use the word charity. Because when you go into explanation of the word charity, it talks about forgiveness, it talks about giving, it talks about everything that is selfless and giving yourself to your wife, your husband to the wife and all that. Look, nothing is left out. So if that love exists between wife and husband, I tell you, the money that the wife has, there will be no controversy. The man wouldn't even struggle to have it. I was explaining this in the meeting we had, that look, when we started, my wife was earning more than me. That was in 1982. My wife was earning more than me. And then whenever she collects her salary, you will bring it to me and say, honey, this is my salary. Then I will collect it and hold it and I pray over it and I will return it to her. I say, look, use it to take care of yourself and anything that you do in a home. My own salary is the one we're going to use for food. My own salary is the one we will use in paying school fees of the children. My own salary is the one we will use. But then, if I do not love my wife, she wouldn't help me. If I don't love her. But if I love my wife and he sees the burden in the home, I wouldn't even tell her before. Look, I told meeting that my wife furnished our house. The chairs were not befitting of who we were at that time. In the church, I was newly ordained a deacon. My wife was also ordained a deacon. People were visiting our house, and my wife had money. And I went to work. Before I came back, the house was transformed. And I kissed her. Thanks. I said, well done. But I have seen a man who, the wife, did big thing. And he began to ask the wife, where did you get money? Where did you do this? Tell me where. No, that type of thing, that is not how to relate to wife and husband. So, naturally, God is the head of the man. Man is the head of the woman. And woman is in charge domestically in a home. So, if there is anything that God will let out because of a man, he will do. If there's anything the man will let out because of the wife, he will do. And then the woman is there to respond to all that the husband will give to her. So the thing that the woman has is hers. But if the man does not love her, he will hold on to whatever she has. But if the man loves her, whatever she has is for the whole house.
All right. So I thank God for that explanation because, over and again, when the Reverend says this thing, people just go, how can you say my money as a man belongs to my whole family? That's my wife and children, but her own money is hers. When God says that, and the two shall become one.
Of course, God gave woman to help meet. That's the word I was looking for.
Looking for help meet.
There, yes, help meet.
All right. So you can actually start to send in your thoughts also this evening to the number 090. Always feel free to do that on 09072703270. You can start to send in your reactions. We haven't seen Mr. Ogbaki yet. I hope he's fine. We will be opening up the phone lines for us to hear from you, but I would like for us to now go on the issue of finances. I remember that when we started this program, I said there are two major things that cause issues in a marriage, and that is money and sex. Yes. Okay, so we've talked about finances. I'm hoping that you are satisfied with the areas that we've covered under finances, but I would also want us to dip a bit into sex. We cannot finish it today, but we will into the issue of sex, for people that are single and about to get married. And I think I'll start with the obvious one, which is, what is the biblical standard of a single that is about to get married? Are you allowed, even when you already know that you want to marry each other, can you have sex?
No. You are not allowed to have sex. In fact, when two people are in love, that's why we don't allow two of them to stay together in secret places. Because sometimes they may lose control. Not everyone can hold himself, and if you cannot hold yourself, you stay where you will be safe from getting involved. The truth is this: when wife and husband to be begin to sleep together before they get married, do you know what? When they eventually get married and there is conflict, you will hear the husband calling the woman, "You are a prostitute." After all, as you gave it to me before we got married, how am I sure to another person? So it happens. But then that is not even the reason. The Bible says in the book of Hebrews chapter 13, I think verse 4, it said, marriage is honorable, bed undefiled. It said, but fornication and adulterers, God will judge. So it's good for you not to put in front of a horse, because that is have sex before you hand over or you get into the contract of marriage. You get me? So let it be clean. Follow the due process. Don't say a wife to be pregnant before you get married. No. It means you will go about sampling everyone. And then if you sleep with this one, you live there, you go to the other one, you will be having your infused spiritually with more than one woman. And there are a lot of implications. You see a lot of people suffering today. You don't know where the thing is coming from. It's coming from somebody they have their blood into their body and it's having repercussion. So it is wrong for you to have congress with a woman you are about to marry, or a husband you are a potential wife or a potential husband you are about to get into contract with. You don't do that. It is scripturally wrong.
So we move on to the next question, which will be, how then do you know that you will not be defrauded? Because indeed, we find that some of the most horrid marriages have been contracted in the church to someone who was hitherto a brother or sister, in quote, the way we say it, someone who looked all in for the Lord. And then you get married, you find out some people have small phalluses. You get married, you find out that your libido is not even the same. Somebody wants, sex often, the other person is not highly jacked that way. Sometimes you enter into a contract, a marriage contract with such a person, and find out that probably that person does not even have a womb, or this person had played around in life for so long and then suddenly went into the church, changed their look, and then started passing off as someone other than what they really were.
Yeah.
So if you are not sampling yourselves or having extramarital sex, or premarital sex, I beg your pardon. If you're not having premarital sex, that is sex before you get married. Extramarital is you're having it outside your marriage, but premarital sex.
Yeah.
How do you know if you're not going to have premarital sex? How do you know when to be afraid? I mean, when to, just to be careful.
Even a non-religious body like UN, they are against premarital sex. That's why they came up with one advert. They say zip up. Have you come across that advert?
To abstain, right?
To abstain,
right?
To abstain, because when you get involved in premarital sex, and eventually you don't marry that man. You have to go to another one, and then maybe another one will sample you, and then you go another one again. And there are men who kept on sampling people in the name of, I will marry you, but I must have a taste of you first. So no more curiosity, which normally come on two couples that want to know how they look on the marriage day. And that is one of the exciting things that everybody looks to. But then, we have the technology today is high, that you can even check if a woman has womb or not. There is a technology now that you can check if a man is effective, if he can trigger, you know what I mean, or not. There are
Reverend, I know about checking for the womb. You could do that. But knowing a man's libido.
Yeah. Okay.
Or whether or not he can actually perform. Do we really have such tests?
Yeah, we don't have that type of test. But then there is a way you can greet, because we are already in a civilized world. There's a way you can greet and then hug. And there's a way, even I would have demonstrated, if you really want to know if your man is able to trigger because of your presence as you hug. There's a way you put your
we're
leg.
live on Facebook, so if you want if you want to demonstrate where Facebook,
Okay.
and of course on YouTube, people can go there and check what you're doing.
Okay, let me look at it. If a woman is standing in front of me now, somebody who is maybe want me to marry her,
Yes.
and is standing in front and we are hugging each other, her leg, one of her legs will go between my leg, okay, and press the.
So, but wouldn't
And
that
then-
be termed, sorry, Reverend, just so that we're rated, would that not be termed as allowing the spirit about people?
Yeah, even though they already have the intention. Because there is no any other way, and that is the most serious thing to do, to be sure that no one that is not effective, it cannot. So the only way you can know it, if other things are proven, like the sperm count, if you have done that, because we do that now, when you have finished doing that, because you can get trigger up.
Reverend Mr. Ogbaki is behind you, so Mr. Ogbaki, please come inside. You're welcome. You're welcome, Miss Key. All right, so Reverend, go ahead, please.
So it is possible for somebody to have the sperm that is able to produce but is not able to ejaculate. That is the problem. And before you can ejaculate, you must be strongly erected. And so in order to know this, that
Reverend,
is...
there are people who can actually ejaculate without a strong erection. It's called premature and weak erection.
Yeah, it's true. But then that's what we are looking for really here. What we are looking for is effective erection, strong erection. And you can know it through what I have just...
Okay. Mr. Ogbaki, before you came, Reverend was just trying to... Reverend, okay, yes. Before you came, the Reverend was talking about, how we might want to tell ourselves before, we find ourselves at the altar, talking about sex, because two very strong things that cause issues in a marriage. How do you know that you and this person that you're about to marry are compatible sexually, since the Bible has charged us as children of God not to defile the marriage bed? The Reverend has been able to show us that the Bible unequivocally says, do not defile the marriage bed. But how do you know that you are not walking into a situation where you will be defrauded? And he talked about trying to rouse an erection from the person that you want to marry by maybe when you're hugging or giving yourselves a kiss. Would you agree with such a system? Because I also asked about seduction.
No, you don't kiss.
Okay, you don't kiss. You just hug.
Only hug, yes.
And you feel a hug for everyone, every man would elicit...
To be candid, for somebody that you love, this last finger, if you bring your own last finger and hold, it's enough to meet current.
Mr. Ogbaki.
I tell you.
Well, I think it belongs to the...
Right, I think it belongs to the field of medicine to deal with this. That is what is advised. Most churches have also advised that intending couples should get tested for all of these, check all of these.
But how do you check for libido? How do you check for someone who will not have premature ejaculation? How do you... Because libido is different. Someone could he could be this kind of person, or she could be that kind of person who once a month is good enough. And you're getting married to someone who wants it every day, if possible, several times every day. So how do you medically check for things like that?
Okay, so once it is outside the field of medicine, it then belongs to the intending couples to talk about this. They obviously would have, they will know their sexual life in that sense. the Catholic Church talks about the human person and sexuality. So it is important that you deal with that you're able to, since you know yourself, you're able to talk about it openly. There are people, okay, or maybe let me put it this way. What about people who even do all of these checks and they are fine, they are good, they're very okay, and then get married and then
It flops.
yes, children do not come and all of that. So I think intending couples must be very open to themselves. Marriage is the prerogative, is God's business, is God's idea. And so when we have all that we can do as humans, we submit to Him finally. Finally, everything goes back to God, such that as humans we have done our best, then we leave everything to God. I mean, the Bible tells us that children are gifts from God. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you are approaching the issue from the aspect of procreation, but I hadn't even gotten to that point yet. I was just talking about from the angle of companionship and pleasure.
Right.
We've not gotten to the aspect of procreation.
No, they know themselves. Let's
Will
be
you
very honest.
subscribe that they have sex before the marriage?
No, that doesn't even, just like she said, what happens if this person is okay at this particular time and then after that day, 2 days, 1 week and 3 weeks is not okay? What happens? He's going to do it. Okay, fine, let's do it, let's test it, and then it's fine, and then you get married. It's not, I mean, so the point I'm saying is that they know each other very well, so it belongs to the man
the
to
problem,
open up.
Mr. Ogbaki, is
Right.
that many times people who go into a marriage to defraud the other person usually don't come out and tell you that this is exactly, I mean, because one would expect that we should have that kind of conversation.
Right.
So what kind of person are you? Do you love making? Because, I mean, you're about to get married. These kind of conversations shouldn't be out there.
Right.
But for people who plan to defraud, they actually go into those relationships hiding some certain aspects of themselves.
So in the Catholic Church, we call that already an impediment. It's a diriment impediment, which ipso facto means that even though there was a valid wedding that took place, there was no marriage, because it was all fraughted in error or deception, so to speak, at that point, because he or she didn't, truly speaking, open up, because in fact, just like you said, had the intention to even defraud this person. So we can't say there's a valid marriage that took place. Yeah.
So let me come to Reverend from the Pentecostal angle. At least we've heard from Mr. Ogbaki that the Catholic Church considers that there was a wedding ceremony that took place, but no valid, so therefore can be annulled. That means nothing held place. You just fed people for nothing. You just like cooking food and giving people. That's the Catholic Church's hand. But Pentecostally, as we love to say, the Pentecostal Church from the Pentecostal angle, what would happen if you found out that a marriage had been contracted based on
Deceit.
false assumptions or deceit?
Yeah, the Bible says in the book of Romans chapter 12 verse 9, it says, let love be without dissimulation. It says, abhor that which is evil and cleave to that which is good. So if the marriage that is contrasted is not correct, there's no way it will stand. If a man cannot even perform, it's no marriage. It's no marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the church, the Pentecostal church too, could go ahead to say, look, a valid marriage did not take place.
Yes.
Okay.
Because there was no consummation. You understand it?
Okay.
Yeah.
There was no joining.
There was no, even if we have joined, even if we joined.
No, I understand what the joining I mean is there was no coming together as husband and wife.
There's nothing like that. So
what if,
so there's no oneness.
What if there was sex but not satisfactory sex because of a challenge that one person has, like a permanent challenge?
If it is something that has to do with injury, after wedding, maybe you have performed creditably, and then if later something like that happened, you are already married and there's nothing you can do about it. You married forever until death
again,
do you
Reverend.
part. If you are married and you have great honeymoon, and within that week, accident occurs and you get injured and you can no longer perform, there's that's a different one.
It's a different matter
Okay.
altogether. That's
Okay.
for better, for worse.
Okay, if there is anything that slows you down, it has to be with maybe your diet. You go for vitamin E. I just want to let it out now. Vitamin E will help to build up your libido. That is leafy, vegetable, and other additives that you take, or you can get even supplement of vitamin E, and you can build up. But then if you meet your nutritionist, he will tell you more about this. And if it has to do with medical operation, they can do operation and then do what makes your libido to be low, especially when you are young enough to be vibrant in it.
Okay, let me quickly ask this before we go on a commercial break, and this question is to both of you. Say, for instance, the conjugation takes place, and the man, it was unsatisfactory. You find out that the man's phallus, for instance, is not suited to you as a woman, for instance.
Too big or too small?
Too small, or even too big. Or even too big. We've had instances like that where it's a matter of pain and you just know that this isn't something that is, but most of the time it's, the complaints that we've heard, this man is too small. And, or maybe the woman is, her size is not compatible with your size.
Yeah.
And of course that means that there will not be satisfactory conjugation.
Yeah.
So in that kind of situation, you get married and you find out that this is the kind of situation we're having. And it doesn't look like it's a situation that can be solved anytime soon.
Yeah.
What would happen?
Actually, in the technology of Congress, the size doesn't really matter. Why? When it matters is when a virgin is being disvirgin. That is where the expertise of Congress technology must be put in place. Now, you don't just force in. If you have a very large or big one, you because I have been a counselor in this thing for a long time, there are some, even while they're having, the woman will begin to throw up by reason of the big size. So we tell such people to know how to go about it. In fact, it's not the going deep that will put the woman where you want to put her, or to have that pleasure. No, because the pleasure of the real thing is just within the periphery of the vagina. The woman has her own clit, and that is where the real thing is. So what your body can do within that area is what will drive the woman to where you want her to go. And when it is time for ejaculate, that's when you can even, go right in and then make sure you don't throw it out. There are technology of this thing. And
are these things taught to people who are about to get married in churches?
I have started teaching my people already, so that you see, it's not just because you can just be going in, and where the pleasure lies is nothing is happening there. And that is why a lot of people cannot drive their wives to a place of orgasm quickly. It is just in there. If you want to prolong the Congress, you go deep. But if you want to make it fast for your partner, you are at the surface. So what you can do with your phallus is what we speak about, and not the size.
Okay. All right, Ms. Ogbaki, you agree with what the Reverend said?
Yeah, but again, I think that these intending couples and couples should talk about these things. Talk about it. You have to talk about whether this is what you want, or not. So you don't get into this marriage and say, no, this is not what I want. And a lot of people are doing this, just like you said in quote, that to defraud a partner. So I think that once communication is not there, you don't communicate effectively, they're bound, certainly going to have problems. Certainly. So intending couples should talk about this in every sense of the word. Talk about Congress, talk about how often, talk about when, talk about all of it, such that once they get married, it doesn't become an issue. And I mean, even in marriage, you can always keep talking about it, because that's also an icing on the cake.
But do you know that sometimes impulse Congress is even very sweet?
Well, these are
that you don't sit down and begin to give timetable.
No, it's not about timetable. It's about the fact that, look, this is how I want it.
Okay.
You have said, Reverend, that the woman says, or I've said here sometimes that the woman says, let's try this. And you say, who taught you this?
Yes. That's why we need to teach men all together.
Yeah, so that's the point I'm trying to make about talking.
Good. Yeah,
talking about all of these things.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yes, so that you don't leave things out. We're not saying that you should pray before this thing or set a timetable before it. Yeah. No, talk about all of the things that really matter. And intending couples and even couples understand what I'm saying, and we all understand it here. Yeah. So that if you do not talk about this and you are just praying, you pray into the marriage, then that night the problem begins and may not end.
And may not end.
Yeah.
That's the scary part of it. Okay, so before we go on a commercial break, let me quickly take messages here. We have one from Miss Otito Yomi Rosalind. She says the joy and peace that every couple need is to be financially transparent to themselves. They should talk and communicate about everything. Thank you so much, Mrs. Otito Yomi. And then from Sonny Kamazo, he says, good evening. I will be 30 in 3 days' time. Please, is it advisable to marry when you are earning 14,500 as salary and also doing a business that is still growing? All right, thank you for that question. I'm sure they will be answering you soon. And then we have, with respect, Reverend, no hugging before marriage. Okay, this is coming from a listener too, says with respect, he doesn't or she doesn't think that there should be hugging before marriage. Let's go on a quick commercial break. Our resource persons will be responding to these text messages and more. I'll go on to Facebook to check for your comments. We'll be right back. Do stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us through that commercial break. Still speaking to the singles out there amongst us who listen to this program. This is all for you. February is for you, and we're hoping that you will be able to avoid the kind of mistakes that people who have gotten themselves into marriage already made. Not everybody had the privilege of having resources like this. And so I come once again to Mr. Ogbaki and Reverend. You heard the text messages that I read, and the man who is 30 in 3 days, still earning about, let's just say, about 14,000. And he has a business too that is growing, and he's saying, should he, because indeed should give cause for him to think, because at 30 one would not say he's too young to get married, and everyone wants to have kids when you can still enjoy them, marry when you can still really enjoy the marriage, and we know what the situation in Nigeria is like. So what are your submissions to them?
Okay, for the young man, we have dealt extensively, I think a week ago or two, about the fact that we should not despise our days of little beginnings. And of course, great things start small. Great things start small. So it is, I would rather say that if you are able to have great savings, that in this business of yours, what do you save, what are you able to save, and then how much do you spend, what are the kind of things you spend on, and all of that. You need to do all of this, take all of this, look at these indices, and ask yourself if in truth you can save enough to take care of another woman and a child, and then two, given the fact that with the help of God and the grace of God, your business will grow, and your salary also may go, or you may even have to resign because business is growing well and fast. So you will have to do a lot of mental calculations and assessment on yourself. And the person that you are marrying, is she doing something, and all of that? These are all of the questions you need to ask, because truly speaking, the financial part of marriage is a very big issue. And if she's not, you really love her and you're saying that she's the one that you're going to marry, then you know that it's a very big deal, because you will buy from the very serious things to the very, very mundane things to the very those things that ordinarily she should buy for herself. You have to buy them. So these are things that you should ask yourself, and yes, if that money will be enough. So when you come to a conclusion at the end of the matter, you say, look, I can't do this thing now. You're telling yourself the truth. If you honestly assess yourself and you say, I can push it through, then you have assessed yourself. And look, the grace of God is always available, but we must do the needful. We must do the needful. Thank you.
Yeah, I want you to plan properly. If I will give you straight answer, I will say develop your business for the next 2 years before you think of marriage. Before then, probably your earning will increase and your business must have improved, and then you will not be afraid. It's time for you to rent when it is time for you to take your husband to your wife for antenatal care and all that. So just give yourself the next two years and let us be communicating. I will be talking with you, you'll be talking with me, and then see how you will build up. And the woman that, the person who sent text message that he has with respect, that there shouldn't be hugging. There shouldn't be hugging. Look, by the grace of God, I have given my life since 1970 through different ministers. And I have passed through the one that say don't shake hand. I have passed through the one that say don't look. And if I tell you the outcome, you will be amazed. To be candid, when you read through the Bible says greet one another with a holy kiss. What is a holy kiss? There are certain things that I will not even expatiate, because we are not all the same, having equal faith or strength of faith. To be candid, what I can do, you will not be able to do. And that is why sometimes some people say don't shake hand. To be candid, if I boast, I do not boast of myself. I boast of the power that God has given to me. I can sleep with the most attractive woman and I wouldn't touch her. And I tell you the truth, my wife is one of the most attractive women on earth. I moved with her for 5 years. Before we got married, we never did anything that has to do against the Bible. So when you talk about hugging, it's a way of greeting. In some places, it's their style of greeting. It is not a romance. So, but then, if a woman wants to find out a certain thing that she needs to know, it's a serious matter. Wisdom is profitable to direct. She can go ahead.
We have another text message from someone who says that Congress is for both to enjoy. Men should be patient enough with their spouses. Good foreplay is good for every woman, so you can have pleasurable Congress. All right, still coming in from Otitoyomi Rosalind. Thank you so much. I'm hoping to get more text messages, questions from single people, because this February is for you. Ask all the questions that need asking, all the things that you feel that you might want to know. We've run out of time, as usual, having so much. Yeah, so quickly. It's already about 8 minutes to the hour of 8. So you want to speak to the young people, or should I say single people who are listening to you this evening. I think I would really want for you to particularly speak to people who, especially the men, who want to get married but do not have the financial capacity yet to do so. We're in very, very difficult times in this nation and in the whole world. And I think men, most especially, need a lot of encouragement. And so, yeah, I would like for you to speak to that as we leave.
Okay, young men, I know that it is very, very important to be married, but I don't want you to go looking for a woman to marry because your age is above 30 or your friends have all gotten married, or your mother are crying because you have not been able to give them a grandchild. No, don't go into it because of that. I want you to plan. It must be planned, because a lot of men today have lost respect in their homes because they do not have means of livelihood. They don't have income commensurate the home they have. And so all the time, the wife is looking for food from friends, or she goes about hustling, and you cannot do otherwise, maybe but to beg friends and all that, and that will make you not to have respect from your wife. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to be a man. A songwriter said to be a man, no be now. Wow, that's what he put it. But then, marriage is not for boys. It's not for girls. It's for somebody that can stand. He will be able to fend for himself, fend for the wife, and fend for the affairs of the home. And you must make sure you get near that point before you get into marriage, and God will help you to build you up.
Amen. Mr. Ogbaki.
Okay, so the Bible is replete in so many places in saying that God will bless the work of our hands. You know, in Deuteronomy 15, Deuteronomy 28. And the truth of the matter is that, look, if you aren't working, if you are not working, you can't get married.
At all.
It's as simple as that. You should be earning something, a legitimate source of income. You know, you hear a lot of young men say that they're in business. And then that's all. No precise description of this business. So it is important that you get a job or a handwork. And today we are saying the way out of poverty in Africa is entrepreneurship. That people should do something no matter how small. I mean, little by little. Our population alone gives us that advantage. Whatever little thing that you do, there are people who are ready to buy you. And once you do it so well, people will rush to you because you're solving their problems. So I'll encourage young men who feel like Reverend just said that it's just time to get married. And the girl is also pressurizing you. Your parents are pressurizing you. The girl is saying, let's do this thing. With the help of God, we will succeed. By the grace of God, we will succeed. You end up being worse than an infidel in a few months' time. You can't pay rent. Yes. You're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and then that says it's time to pay, and you say, I can't pay. Then you move to a face me, I face you. From there, you move back to your parents' house.
And you distribute your...
Exactly. So you lose all of the respect that you should have as a man. That's pressure. That pressure is enough to kill you. The pressure men bear in terms of taking care of their home, for even those with means, is not easy. For those with means, it's not easy. And then here is a young man who is doing nothing, who is relying on the help of friends. I have friends who are well-to-do. They will help me. Yes, they will help you. They will do committee for you. They will do all the things for you. You get married. And then after the wedding, that day, reality will set in. Then a few months later, the bag of rice they brought will finish.
Yes.
Everything, the gas will finish. Everything.
They tell you are a man now.
Yes, you're a man. So you need to plan. Young men need to plan. And don't give in to this pressure by young ladies who are saying, let's get married. I'm not getting any younger. Somebody is disturbing me. If you're not ready, I will go. Let her go. Because marriage is God's business. But there are certain things that we must put in place before we get into it. It's a given. It's very, very important. I mean, the finances, Reverend will emphasize, and it's very true that, what belongs to the man belongs to the home. What belongs to the woman belongs to her. You know, as much as I have my own issue with that, but the truth of the matter is that the pressure is on the man. The pressure is on the man. The woman is a helper, so when she decides to help, she shouldn't take the burden of the home. She shouldn't pay rent. She shouldn't feed the family. She shouldn't pay school fees. When she is able to do that, look, it is understandable when you are retrenched from work or you're asked to leave a job and she takes over this. But while she's taking over this, you are not resting too. You're doing a bit to say, look, I got 2,000 today, take all of it. Yeah. I mean, it will even help her take off of this pressure on her, and she will do more to help you. So, young men, get something doing. Plan very, very well. Marriage is not for boys, though.
There's no better way to end it. Marriage is not for boys, and when they're talking about boys, it's not by age. It's about who you are and what you are upstairs intellectually. Well, until next week when we hope to come your way again, please remember that, especially for the singles, February is for you. And so feel free to send in your questions even after now. We will be taking them. We have more questions about sex come next week. But until then, to all the married couples and all the singles who are already engaged out there, happy Valentine's. And remember that it shouldn't be about one day. You should celebrate your love every day. Remain victorious.